JC, what's up? How you doing? It's me, yours truly. I am back to post a quick video response to JD's, I guess, thread slash contest that he just put up. Really kind of a quick, simple question where he was asking questions about how you store your vinyl. And he had questions about sleeves and inserts and all that good stuff. So I thought I'd just kind of do a quick video, throw my 2 cents in, and as always, kind of see what you guys think. I don't remember the exact order of his questions. I didn't actually write them down. I just watched the video through one time. But I know one of the questions that he talked about was, when you have albums that have like, promo stickers and things like that on, kind of, do you keep the shrink on? Do you take the shrink off? And, all that good question. When it comes to shrink wrap, I mean, there's been a few new records that I've taken the shrink off, and when I say few, I mean very few. I could probably think of maybe only 10 records that I've got, like brand new records that I actually took the shrink wrap off. And I remember that there were 2 things, so I guess I should say, when it comes to shrink wrap, I always keep it on whenever possible. Sometimes that means I don't get to the gatefold and all of that, but there's a big value in the shrink wrap for me. I think number one, there's 2 instances that really kind of convinced me of that early on when I first started collecting. And one was, I can't remember the exact record that it was. It was some 80s R&B record, but I found it in a dollar bin. And the shrink wrap was like, the shrink was on, but it was kind of like a small section, like right here, that section was missing. And the album was, there was like some water damage there. It was warped, and there was like, that brown, not mildew, but almost like, past water stain type thing. And then when I ripped the shrink off, the rest of the album was like 100% mint. And again, that was early on in my collecting, so I guess something just kind of, stuck with me there that, obviously shrink can add some very, very valuable protection over the lifetime of a record, because it was almost like someone drew a line right down the album cover and just screwed up this portion and kept the other portion mint. And it was right along the line where the shrink was ripped. So, again, I just kind of took it early on that, having shrink on an album can only add more protection to it. So, why rip it off if it's there? The second thing about that, too, is whenever I was bidding on albums on eBay, I was always much more open to and much more confident in the condition of an album if it said, vinyl near mint, cover near mint, whatever, still in shrink. I just know for me personally, that always gave me more confidence in the condition of the album. Now, of course, we know a million things can happen with shrink on, but just kind of in general, that gave me more confidence in the album, and oftentimes I was willing maybe to bid or pay a little more for it. So in light of that one experience I had with that album, and then also just kind of seeing my tendency with buying albums, I just tend to value holding the shrink on my albums when I can. So when it comes to the promo stickers, that typically means I keep them on there, because if they're on the album anyway, that means they're on the shrink, and the shrink is still on the album. So I never take my shrink off, and I never take my promo stickers off. I just leave them on there. And this is kind of a good example, because this Far Beyond Driven, this is a original release. This is not one of the reissues. And again, the cover is in absolute mint condition, still has a shrink all the way through. And now also I get that promo sticker from when it was first released, which is really cool. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts about the shrink and the promo. As far as sleeves, I do all fitted sleeves. When I buy new records, obviously those usually come with sleeves. I'll keep some of the bigger ones for when I get bigger LPs that won't quite fit in the smaller fitted ones. But I think the fitted sleeves keep your collection looking a lot nicer on the shelves when everything is very uniform. And also when it comes to kind of looking and viewing the album, I like it when there's not a bunch of wrinkles in it, or when you slide it into your stack, sometimes it'll get caught and the edge will come off like this when the sleeves are too big. So I don't like the oversized sleeves. I like all my sleeves fitted. But again, I keep some bigger ones for albums that don't fit the fitted sleeves. Unless the inner sleeve that comes with the album, this is not a good example, but because with this one I actually have the album in the back. But with the inner sleeves, sometimes the sleeves that come, they are longer than they are tall, so, or I guess vice versa. But anyway, I put all my sleeves to where the vinyl can just come right out without having to actually pull the sleeve out, turn it sideways, and then pull the vinyl out. Some records force you to keep it that way, but if at all possible, I like to have my records exposed on the side. Now, we had a good debate about that a year or so ago about, that defeats the whole purpose because now dust can get in there and blah, blah, blah. And really kind of my attitude behind that is I think I'll take my chances over the years with maybe a little bit of dust, figuring out a way to get into the back of my full stacks and working its way into the vinyl, as compared to me physically having to touch and pull my inserts in and out, sliding records in and out of it over and over and over the lifetime of the record. I think I would take my chances with maybe a little bit of dirt, finding a way to get to the back of the stacks and work its way in, which I'll just kind of take care of with a brush when I pull it back out. Especially with me, because I like to manhandle my records. I love looking at the covers. I love, pulling stuff out and so forth. But oftentimes when I'm just going through the stacks, pulling out things, looking through the covers, it's nice to be able to experience it all the way around without ever having to physically touch the actual piece, including pulling the record out to play it. So I like my, records, the inserts to be set so that the record can just slide right out. Now this one here, when it comes to my more valuable records, I will do kind of like this one, and I will actually put the sleeve in the back like this just for a little extra protection. But I'm not so anal, if you will, that I feel like I have to put every single one of my albums like this to make sure it has the ultimate protection and blah, blah, blah. Because keep in mind, again, this is my personal opinion, I think as collectors, we value records and we take care of them, want to make sure nothing happens to them and so forth. But a lot of times, too, I don't lose sight of the fact that I have hundreds and hundreds of records in my collection that are in great shape, still play well, covers are good, they're not warped, they don't have ring wear all over them. And those records were not taken care of worth a darn the 20 years before I got the record. They were floating around in someone's basement, or they were just stacked in a crate somewhere with no sleeves. They were being manhandled, and they weren't wiping them with brushes and record cleaner and on and on and on. And so I try not to get myself too lost in the perfection of, every single way that the record is stored and blah, blah. I mean, again, I don't do anything that would potentially offer damage to my records at all, and I take very good care of them. But at the same time, that Deep Purple Machine Head that I got that's, 19, 20 years old, it was manhandled quite a bit, and it wasn't stored great. It wasn't stored in protection, most likely. All the records we get out of dollar bins, and look, it's still in pretty darn good shape. Very clean, no damage to the cover, blah, blah, blah. So I don't let myself get too lost in there, too anal, whatever you want to say. But, so anyway, that usually determines whether I put a record in the back. It's just kind of, if it is one of my more valuable records, a little extra protection, sure, I'm going to put it in the back. And again, this is an original release, so I did it with that one. Also, I will put records in the back sometimes like this when it's a double LP, or even if the cover is very, very thin, I might put it in the back then, because it's just kind of like, if it's a double LP, and sometimes it's so tightly packed, you just know that the force of the records being packed inside is like pushing out on the cover, which I think has a better and quicker chance of causing ring wear. And Pantera's Vulgar, the new reissue, is a good example of that. So in that situation, I put the albums on the outside because I felt they were just too tight for the cover. So that's another reason I'll put them in the back. But again, 95% of my albums, the sleeves and everything are inside the cover. The type of sleeves that I use, I order and keep a stack of these poly sleeves on hand, the paper with the poly there in the middle. And it really just kind of depends. Your typical record, if it comes with a regular paper sleeve, I'll leave that, no big deal. If I get something again like this, like my Stone Temple Pilots, for example, then I'll definitely put that in a poly sleeve. It's one of my more valuable records. And I pulled this one out too when I'm talking about sleeves. I did order one package of Blake sleeves, but the only thing that I put in my Blake sleeves are my my more valuable records that I keep in my black box. So basically I only have maybe 20 or 30 records that are in Blake sleeves, and they are the ones that I do want to be anal about. You know, I don't want a single speck of dust to get to them. I want the record to be on the outside of the sleeves. I want like the ultimate protection for these particular albums. I Blake sleeve those, store them outside, and those are the ones I get very, very anal about. That's why they're stored in the black box. But other than that, those are the only ones I use Blake sleeves on, and one of the only times that I put records in the back. So anyway, just kind of my quick response there. I hope that, I guess nothing else, just kind of shares how I do it. And make sure I show what's playing in the background. Once again, LJ, you inspired me. I threw this on last night and been listening to it all day today, so there you go. Alright, BC, thanks as always, and we will talk to you soon. Alright, take care, guys.